If someone told me a year ago that I'd be knee deep in mechanical drawings, city permits, lease negotiations, and conversations about whether the electrical panel needs to be moved, I would have laughed. Yet here we are. We bought a laundromat. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the journey from vision to first offer to financing to the moment we finalize the purchase. And if you stay until the end, I'm also going to share why this isn't just a laundromat, but a community health project in disguise. Now, the journey started the way so many new chapters begin, with a random scroll on Instagram. My husband came across someone's story, and that story really resonated with me. Now, when I witnessed what was possible, I started to do a deep dive into the laundromat community and what the next steps would be. And before I knew it, a letter of intent to purchase a laundromat was submitted. And that changed everything, because suddenly owning one didn't feel theoretical, it felt possible. Now, over the next few weeks, we drove to multiple laundromats, taking notes like undercover investigators. We were identifying which ones were busy, which ones felt safe, which ones were neglected, and how much potential existed. Eventually, we found one that checked all the boxes, except aesthetically, it checked none of the boxes because there were cracked tiles, stained ceilings, broken machines, a vibe that said surviving, not thriving. But it was in the right neighborhood, and the customers were still coming because need always brings people in. That's when we decided that this was the one. Now, here's the thing about laundromats. There's no official commercial real estate bidding portal for laundromats. You often submit offers the old school way. So you just slide that letter of intent under the door, or you hand it to an attendant and I hope it makes its way to the owner. And in our case, it didn't. Not at first. Thankfully, the attendant remembered me and called when the owner walked in and handed him the phone right then and there in the laundromat. Within minutes, we were talking numbers, timing, and whether he truly wanted to sell. I began to gather some information. I asked him about the price, his level of urgency, what came with the business, and what conditions the equipment and the space were actually in. Because the building needed work, a lot of work actually. And unless you've done this before, it's nearly impossible to know what renovations will cost until you bring in the experts. So I called contractors, plural. After getting estimates, one thing became clear. This wasn't going to be a light refresh. It was going to be expensive. And when something will require major renovations, the terms of the deal matter even more. So I asked the owner for something essential, his lease. And there were two immediate problems that stood out. One is that he only had 1 year left on it, not enough time to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into improvements. And the second, the lease made the tenant responsible for the HVAC system, which according to the contractors, it was dead, as in completely needing a replacement. So that meant more investment, more risk, more leverage and negotiation. The next step is I went to the landlord. And for laundromats, you want at least 8 years on your lease, preferably more with renewal options. So we negotiated a 10-year lease plus 2 5-year renewal options, giving us 20 years of control. Now, once that was in motion, it was time to talk money. If you've ever looked into laundromat financing, there is a name that everyone hears first, Eastern Funding. So they finance laundromats and dry cleaners. So we started there. Their offer was about 9% fixed interest over a 10-year term with a prepayment penalty if you paid it off within 3 years. That's actually not bad, but you know me. I wanted to compare, especially as we're talking about finances and numbers. So we called local banks, credit unions, SBA lenders. And here's a tip. Bankers hang out with other bankers. So even when a bank didn't have a program, they referred me to someone else who might. But there was a challenge. The laundromat's books were almost non-existent. Net income was negative, and banks prefer to lend to businesses that can pay them back, not one that starts in the red. So instead, they looked at us, our income, our personal financial statements, the net worth, credit scores, tax returns, all of those things mattered. And eventually, a bank agreed to fund us based on our financial profile, not the business past performance. And then came the best part. We received $350,000 in financing secured by the new equipment and could draw from it as needed, invoice by invoice. Even better, we negotiated a longer payment term, 1 year of interest-only payments, which meant that we had breathing room to renovate before major payments kicked in. So if you're still watching, I want you to drop a comment. Would you buy a business in poor condition if the community still supported it? Yes or no? I want to see where everyone's head is at. So now let's talk about due diligence and building codes. If the space is dated, code compliance will find you. This laundromat hadn't been significantly updated since the 1970s. So once renovations begins, inspectors can require full upgrades: electrical, sprinklers, fire safety, mechanical systems, accessibility, panel placements, and more. I mean, the list has become exhaustive, like literally exhaustive at this point. So let me just give you an example. One electrical panel was behind a washer, and that is against code. And also, every machine needed a dedicated switch. Some were sharing. So we had to hire an architect, a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, and a fire and sprinkler designers, all to produce detailed stamped drawings before the town would even approve the project. These are costs that many new owners underestimate. So if the renovation budget is going to be $200,000 or more, you may want to plan for 10 to 20% more just for the surprises. Okay. So once the lease and financing were aligned, we had to finalize the documentation, a letter of interest, a letter of intent, and purchase and sales agreement. And because we chose an asset sale, an itemized list of everything that we were buying. Now, we also negotiated a portion of the deal as seller financing with a delayed start to payments to give us time to renovate and open. And at that point, we owned a laundromat. Yay! But that was just the beginning, because this isn't just a business move that I talk about in this video right here. It is also mission driven. When we think about laundromats, they are oftentimes hubs for people, but the environment, dim lights, cold floors, stained ceilings, not as functional and not as dignified. So as a physician, I realized something. We often treat patients' symptoms, but we don't treat the structural environment that produce those symptoms. So I was thinking that a prescription pad cannot solve what a community lacks. And the first time that I visited this laundromat that we now own, I met a woman named Alma. She had been going there for more than 30 years, and she told me what she loved and what she wished could be better. So driving home, I realized that we weren't just buying machines. We were inheriting the soul of a community. So the mission of our laundromat is simple. It is to transform a basic utility into a community health asset. So we're building a clean, safe, reliable laundromat, but we're also adding in bilingual literacy and wellness books. We're creating a nook that gives financial education and health literacy resources and uplifts the community. Because after owning a laundromat, I've learned that there are many reasons why people use a laundromat. Sometimes they're using a laundromat because they have no washer and dryer in their home. Sometimes they're using a laundromat because they only have one washer and dryer and they have so many kids that they just want to bring it and get it done all in one fall swoop. Sometimes it's because their comforters don't fit into their washer and dryer. And so they want to wash their comforters and the larger items at a laundromat. But when you think about the reasons, all the reasons why a person uses it, sometimes it's because they have no choice. And so what we wanted to do is to uplift and give a better experience and elevate the health of a community to those who don't have a choice, to those who haven't had an opportunity to experience nice spaces or been told that they're not worth those amenities. And we also want to use our leverage as physicians to instill health literacy and financial literacy into that community. While they're sitting there waiting for the washer to finish, maybe they'll pick up a book and learn about budgeting and managing their money and investing. Maybe they'll pick up a pamphlet and learn about a community health resource that will help them to manage their stress. Maybe they will learn about a silent killer, which is hypertension, and actually go to the doctor and get a wellness check. We want to build in resources, maybe even community programming right where people already are. Not everyone can make it into a clinic, but everyone needs clean clothes. So we found a laundromat, we've negotiated the lease, secured the financing, finalized the purchase. But now comes the intense part, renovating a very old laundromat under modern building codes. And trust me, the inspectors will have opinions. So if you want to learn more about our laundromat journey and how we're using this space, this community hub, to elevate the financial education and the health of the community, then give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friend, and subscribe, because there is so much more to come. Again, I want to say thank you for watching and allowing me to share this personal story and maybe even some tips that motivate you to start your own business or to acquire a business. And until next time, people, stay healthy, stay wealthy, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.